Games where you are the villain fall into 4 categories. Games where you are not the villain, and then, surprise, you are and you were the whole time. Games where you can choose to be the villain, and to basically no one's surprise, most people choose to be good. Games where you are ostensibly the bad guy, but you're actually the hero because the good guys are totally corrupt. And finally, games where you're the villain. And like some sort of modern-day digital hokey-pokey, some games like to stick their hands and feet into 2 or even 3 of those, but in the end, they're still the same broad categories. The first category, those aren't games about being a villain. Sure, it's surprising to find out that all along you were the bad guy doing bad things, and yeah, that's a valid storytelling device. But it's not really being the villain. You're not even choosing to do bad things, because what? You could just stand there instead? Games rarely give you the option to not do anything and come out as the good guy. The second category is also out, because rarely do people choose to be the bad guy unless they're doing it for some sort of reason, like it's their second playthrough. And in any case, it's rarely truly evil. It's more like sort of being a... The only way games ever really manage to upend that expectation is to make your choices so incredibly vague that choosing what seems good turns out to be bad. Usually artificially or with some 1990s adventure game logic. The third category isn't really about villainy either. You're the anti-hero at best, but the fact is your title still has the word hero in it. You're not doing bad things to good people. You're doing bad things to bad people. That's basically being a soldier for the light. No, we're going to look at the fourth category, games where you are the villain. You play as an unrepentant bad guy, doing bad things for bad reasons. The Catharsis of Villainy. It is exceedingly rare that a game will allow you to be evil, truly evil. Often there is a need to provide some sort of impetus, some explanation, some rationale or motive. Almost always that motive is a revenge plot. The so-called heroes engaged in some activity against you, unjustly at that, and now you're going to get revenge on them. However, sometimes we don't need the intricate backstory. This is equally true of movies. Sometimes bad guys should just be bad guys. I love Aliens vs. Predator. The game, not the movies, though honestly, I can't say I hated the movies because my brain was turned completely off during all of them. But the games, I remember very fondly, or rather, I remember playing as the alien. Whether in single player, slowly crawling along darkened hallways to eat someone in a bathroom, or in multiplayer, leaping across the entire map at breakneck speeds and slashing marines and predators from behind. The life cycle mode, being born as a facehugger and then having to stay alive long enough to grow into a full alien, that was simply fantastic. Even in Aliens Colonial Marines, playing as an alien was simply a fun time, being fast and deadly and scary. Now, is the alien really evil? Is it even a bad guy? Or is it simply an animal that kills because that's what it does? The fact is that once you've placed the human intellect behind the controls of this killing machine, it becomes something closer to a real villain. However, motivation is always important with regards to being the bad guy. Evil Genius is one of the few games that gives you a pretty uniquely bad guy motivation. You want to hold the world hostage, or become the world's leader or something. I actually don't think I remember the end plot, but throwing minions into a literal brainwashing machine has infected my own brain, and now I think about how it would feel to have a clean brain all the time. This game, I love it. I am so excited for the sequel. When it was announced, my co-stream on Twitch became just me squealing, and that's because this is a game where you are actually evil. There's no redeeming qualities to your character. You can choose the kind of evil you are. Maybe you murder people, but maybe you just hold them in a labyrinthine jail complex where you experiment on them for months before releasing them drugged and confused back into the wild while your minions carry out international thefts designed to make you infamous. Yet even this excellent, well-crafted game doesn't quite hit the peaks of villainy, and for that I have 2 games that are both much more recent, and the way they look at villainy is somewhat interesting. Carrion is probably my new favorite game, and it's not even released yet. There is a public demo, and I can safely say that had the game been released, I would have absolutely dropped whatever price they plan to ask for this game instantly. It's really that good. The controls aren't great, but it's a beta demo, and I expect the controls will be more fluid once the title is actually released. And to be totally honest, I don't even hate the bad controls because it really does start to feel natural, at least as natural as controlling a monster comprised of tentacles can be. I worry that the plot will eventually devolve into something tropey, something like you're an experiment and you're hunting down the scientist who did this to you. I hope they don't, however, because right now it's kind of perfect. You're a monster, a horrifying, ruthless monster, moving without any sort of compassion and eating and destroying everything around you. You're doing this because you feel like it. In fact, from what I can tell, there's no real reason you have to eat people at all. It seems like you could probably stealth or run away from almost every single fight in the entire game, and yet I imagine very few people will ever choose to do that because it's just so much fun to be the scary monster, to be the villain. In fact, carrion is the reason I decided to make this video at all. I so very much enjoyed just reveling in my own villainy, tearing people limb from limb, even engaging in some somewhat almost psychotic tendencies. But hey, you know, that's the point. It's fun. It's really fun to be that bad. You get to be a Lovecraftian horror show, vastly overpowering any individual enemy to the point that you really are that which would cause madness. In fact, I think I might start leaving one victim alive. Sea Salt is another Lovecraftian horror title, though instead of inhabiting a single terrifying tentacle beast, you inhabit the will of a horrible tentacle beast. Sadly, this game falls into the somewhat tame habit of making the good guys corrupt and therefore bad guys who deserve it. Yet in an interesting way, you're still the villain. You're not somehow the anti-hero. No, you're a pissed off bad guy doing bad things to bad people because those bad people did bad things to you, sort of. I'm trying not to be too extra spoilery, though again, the plot was probably outlined in about an hour. It's not really the driving force here. The main point of the game is controlling your forces of evil and sending them out to do evil things. In an interesting twist of fate, this too has a clunky control scheme, though I once again think it tends to feel somewhat immersive, almost natural, as if you have to actually exert your own willpower over your minions. But hey, I'm also known for indulging in headcanon for my Tycoon games, so maybe take my willingness to put up with the controls with a grain of salt. What's interesting about these two games is that both of them have this feeling of being the villain, of actually doing bad things because you feel like it, not necessarily because it must be done. I sincerely hope there's more of that in Sea Salt than I've seen so far. I haven't completed the game yet, and it even looks like there might be branching paths, so maybe I'll never fully complete it. But I like being given the ability to embrace my inner bad guy. Similarly with Carrion, I sincerely hope they don't try to explain it too much. I'd hate to find out I'm the hero. I don't think it would be a surprising twist. I think it'd be a sad, missed opportunity. I remember Aliens because of the alien. I remember Evil Genius because of the evil experiments. I remember my Plague Inc. games because I successfully kill everyone without ever being diagnosed. I remember the games that allow me to go fully into the darkness without trying to, explain why I'm doing things. I don't always want a fully fleshed out backstory, or to be an anti-hero on a revenge story, or to be secretly rooting out corruption. Sometimes I just want to become an evil overlord. And sadly, I think this is something we see far too infrequently. What is your favorite bad guy game? I'd even accept a god game like Black and White, or perhaps Party Hard, something where you're generally actually the villain, not merely making inconsequential renegade options that maybe closes off a conversation path. Real villainy, without a shred of compassion. If you enjoyed this subject, consider sharing it and liking the video. If you'd like to see another video, you can watch one in the corner right now. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.